Hello, hello. Welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and today we're going to be reading Charlotte's Web. Let's get to reading. Charlotte's Web is book 5 of our 100 books, and it is a book that you probably have seen or have at least heard of. If you are not familiar with Charlotte's Web, it is a story about a young pig named Wilbur and his friendship with the most unlikely of friends, a spider named Charlotte. This story goes into depth about what it means to be a friend, the depths of love and protection for those you care about. And because of these great focuses within the text, this is a 5-star book in my estimation. It is very well written and really makes you feel quite a bit for these characters within the story. As far as content goes in this story, there isn't any inappropriate content for children, no severe violence or sexual content or anything like that. However, there is a character death in this book, and this book does deal with the themes of death and loss quite a bit, so that would be something to be aware of before going into this book. I would put this book at a 3rd to 6th grade reading level. It's a story that can be well appreciated and understood at these ages. However, I will say that there's a lot of vocabulary in this book that is more advanced, and so it would be useful to have younger readers especially keep track of that vocabulary and to look up definitions and all of that good stuff so that they understand what they're reading. I know that a lot of readers will sometimes read a book and get discouraged when they don't understand a word, or they will use their in-context clues to try and figure out the meaning, and sometimes they may think that it means the opposite of what it actually means. Using your context clues can actually be very useful for finding or figuring out a definition in a pinch, but I would suggest keeping like a vocabulary journal or something like that if you intend to teach this to younger students. As I said earlier, this book does deal with death quite a bit. It actually deals with both sides of life very heavily, especially the concepts of the innocence of childhood mixed with the fear of loss and death. Even the first sentence of the story reads, "Where's Papa going with that axe?" So at the very beginning, we are introduced to this idea of fear and loss as we have Fern, this young girl who ends up raising Wilbur and saving him from that very axe, begging her father to save the life of Wilbur and to not, kill him because he's the runt of the litter. We then see the innocence of Wilbur, a young spring pig who is too young to really know anything about the world and who is sent off to this nearby farm. He is sent to the farm of Fern's uncle and has to figure out life based off of what the other farm animals teach him about it, his own experience, and ultimately through his friend Charlotte and her example of what friendship looks like. While we have our characters start off very innocent and young and new to the world in a sense, they learn and progress throughout the book. They face losses that come as life progresses and the reality of their mortality. These realizations help the characters grow. Wilbur learns to accept loss as he progresses past his originally expected lifespan, and Fern, the young girl, learns to enjoy more than what would be considered childish things as she grows throughout this year. They both experience a loss of innocence in a sense as they grow and make these realizations. But the great thing about this book is that it is not a mourning of the loss of innocence, but more an understanding that this is a progression, and we can look back at that innocence with fondness, but we can also learn and grow through the life experiences that we face that maybe take away some of that innocence. So, as I said previously, Charlotte's Web is a fantastic book, definitely worth a 5 out of 5 star rating. And I do have the updated poster scratched off. We're 1/20th of the way through. Charlotte's Web is actually the very first square, and it's kind of hard to see. But we have a web and a spider to represent Charlotte and her web. As always, please let me know what you think about Charlotte's Web. Is this a book that you have read and enjoyed? Do you have thoughts and ideas to add on to what I've said, or to give your own view on this book or any other books? Please feel free to subscribe to our page if you're interested in following along with the challenge, and follow me on social media for updates about each week's books. And as always, have a marvelous week and a wonderful read.